I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done.
Yes, we're here. Thank you for joining me. It's David Krayden. Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard here in the Krayden's Right channel. Thanks for joining me. Why did I put that clip at the beginning? Because we're going to discuss what happened yesterday on this broadcast. There was a lot of dissenting voices, but this is a station, this is a broadcast dedicated to free speech. I don't always agree with what I hear. You don't always agree with what you hear, but we believe in free speech here. And I'm not in the bag. I've said this. If I've said it once, I've said it a dozen times. I'm not in the bag for any political party. I support principled conservatism, principled libertarianism, wherever it appears in political parties. And when they do it right, I applaud them. When they get it wrong, I don't. But we'll discuss that later. And we'll be back with some of the latest.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Thanks for thanks for coming back, folks. I am going to be reading some of your comments later, and I just want to make sure I have them here. Thank you. Yep, I'm a producer. We do have a producer. Yes, actually, the show would never get off the ground without her. Thank you. Thanks. I want to talk about a couple of things here because if you looked at our thumbnail, our title today, it's about what's going to happen here in Parliament because we're now going on a month without any government business going on because Trudeau refuses to acknowledge the order from Parliament to relinquish control of these green slush fund documents. Nothing's moved. Nothing is moving. So what are we doing here? Now, I've been so focused on the United States in the last week with incredible things going on. I know a lot of you are probably looking south longingly, saying, my God, why can't we do that in Canada? Yeah. Why can't we do that in Canada? Why can't we deport illegal aliens? Why don't we have a border czar like that? Why aren't we talking about getting rid of whole government departments? Why aren't we talking about changing the very structure of government like Donald Trump is doing? I don't think he was bluffing, folks. I really don't. I think he's serious. And yeah, I know there's some reservations about this Senator Marco Rubio being possibly named as a Secretary of State. I don't believe that. That's not been confirmed. I think that was a bit of a game going on. But you talk about people like Border Czar, Tom Homan. I like Kristi Noem. Pete Hegseth at defense. I could go on and on about that, but that's for another show. I think that's a great idea. No, he wasn't a general. But that's the point. You don't want another general leading the Department of Defense because they have become so indentured with the defense establishment. They have become so part of it that, and as soon as they leave their jobs in the military, they expect and they usually get a job with the military industrial complex. They get a job with McDonnell Douglas or Raytheon, and they become just as indentured with this whole establishment of spend your taxpayer dollars on defense or U.S. taxpayer dollars on defense. That's not really defense. It's foreign wars that never end. We've got to get back to defense meaning defense. In Canada, of course, we can't even defend our own country. We've given away everything we have to Ukraine, and it's a mess. So things are looking pretty good in the United States. How are they looking in Canada? We're in chaos in Canada right now. Absolute chaos. What is Justin Trudeau going to do? Continue to posture? Now, here we are. It's a little after 8:30 as I'm speaking this live Wednesday morning. Justin Trudeau is probably just getting up, getting ready to go to caucus. Apparently, he will be facing another round of demands. from backbenchers to get out, leave. Time to go, Justin. So what are his options here? I've said in the past he's not going to prorogue, and I've said why. Because when you prorogue, all of the legislation on the order table dies. It's gone. So that means bills like C-293, which will mean the eradication of our food industry, certainly is going to be extremely detrimental to the food industry and the meat industry in Canada. That'll die. Bill C-63, which is probably Justin Trudeau's crowning achievement in his own mind. His censorship bill, the Online Harms Act, will die. They'll have to start all over again in the spring. And I don't think they're going to have enough time to get that bill through before the next election, because there will certainly be another election before October 2025 when it's scheduled. So let's have a look. I got this from the Toronto Sun. Trudeau is apparently, and this is based on some inside intel the Sun is getting. Who knows? This could be a trial balloon. This could be distraction. But Trudeau could prorogue, even though it's going to mean the end of a lot of his legislation, just because he thinks it buys him time to stay on as leader. As much as the Conservative MPs were laughing and Liberal MPs were cringing, the fact is Trudeau has lost control in the Commons. Trudeau's party, and by extension its government, has been completely consumed with the internal debate on whether he should stay. Meanwhile, we are now in the third week of the government being unable to move their agenda in the House. Once again, I took this from the Toronto Sun. Thank you, Toronto Sun. You guys have always been very good. Since the beginning of October, all government business has been set aside while MPs debate whether their privileges have been breached by the government for refusing to hand over documents. Minister's office have been told that Thursday is a blackout day for announcements, except those coming from the center. The center meaning the government of Canada or the PMO, Prime Minister's office, by extension. That sparked speculation that Trudeau could do something dramatic, such as cutting immigration rates dramatically, or even shut down the sitting of Commons to avoid further drama. And that's another word for prorogue. So there we are. We could be right back in that situation. Now, where is the NDP on this lately, by the way? I know Jagmeet Singh on Monday is a different Jagmeet Singh on Tuesday, and he's a different Jagmeet Singh on Wednesday. He can't focus. He can't deliver or articulate a consistent message about whether he's for or against Justin Trudeau, whether he wants an election or doesn't want an election, whether he wants to vote with the Conservatives in a non-confidence motion or not.
Message directly to Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. Don't interfere with this process. Don't interfere. Don't get in the way. Don't get in the way.
So today, I have invoked my authorities under the Canada Labour Code. Under Section 107 of the Code, I've directed the Canada Industrial Relations Board to order that all operations and duties at the ports resume, and to assist the parties in settling their collective agreements by imposing final and binding arbitration.
If you want to make any vote in Parliament that in any way impacts your rights, we're going to vote no. We're going to vote no. We tell that right now. Whether that vote is a confidence vote or not, whether that triggers an election or not, I'm telling Justin Trudeau and the Liberals right now, you're never going to count on us if you're going to take away the rights of workers. Never. Never. Never going to happen.
Okay, so who knows whether this clown is serious? Sounds like it. He's saying there quite emphatically and actually quite articulately for a change that he will vote against the government in a non-confidence motion if Trudeau interferes with the dock strike. Well, he has, just like he did with the rail strike. Jagmeet didn't like the rail strike interference either, and he just said, do it again, we're going to vote against you. Sounds like an ultimatum to me. Sounds like he's saying we are going to vote against the government. Did I miss something, or is that what you're all hearing? Yes, that's what he's saying. So clearly, Justin Trudeau is listening to that too. So he might be saying, okay, draw down the government for now. Like I say, I was very skeptical of proroguing, and I still I think there's a 75% possibility at best. But I know Trudeau wants this legislation to get through, so I have my doubts. But it seems you have to remember with Justin Trudeau, it's all about Justin Trudeau in the end. It's all about his ego. It's all about his narcissistic personality. So will he sacrifice all of that legislative agenda just for himself to continue his personal power? It's entirely possible because that's how this man thinks. Now, before we get into censorship, misinformation, disinformation, and your comments. And by the way, if I forget to say it later, I'm going to say it right now. We read your comments here. We appreciate your comments. This is a show dedicated to free speech. I don't think a day goes by where I don't say we must resolve to resist. We must oppose Bill C-63 and all of Trudeau's censorship bills because free speech is foundational to a democracy. You ain't got a democracy without free speech. Can't have it. You don't have freedom at all without free speech. We're all sitting in our beds at night, worried about who's listening, which is how the Soviet Union was described under Joseph Stalin. People felt safe after midnight lying in bed, thinking there was no electronic surveillance going on. And that's about the only time they ever felt safe to say anything that was on their mind or in their hearts. God help us if Canada ever comes to that. But that's where Trudeau is leading us, of course. Now, I want to. The food professor. This guy is astounding because he said exactly what I've said in another context. I said Trump is not a threat to Canada because he's a inspiration to conservatives. He should be an inspiration to the Conservative Party Canada and all small c conservatives who want smaller government, who want to pay fewer taxes, who want to focus on their population getting better and not bringing in illegals. So the food professor said Trump's not a threat to agriculture. You know what? And Donald Trump is also not a threat to our energy sector because he wants energy independence and he wants Canadian oil and he wants to rebuild, he wants to finish the Keystone XL pipeline. Nobody is talking about that. Well, actually, I do have a clip where somebody is talking about that. And I wanted to show you that in a minute. In fact, let us show you that right now before I go on with what the food professor is saying here.
Now a mouse in the kitchen running around. You see them just under your cabinetry. His own cabinet has a broom and they're trying to get him. They're going to get him. They're going to get that little mouse pretty soon. And it's going to be great because it's going to open up Canada to bring back to international investing. I am very excited about investing in Canada again. I haven't touched it in 8 years. Trudeau's the worst manager in history of Canada. I've said that countless times. It's the end game now. It's very important that we get rid of him soon. But I think Canada is in a great position right now because we need energy in North America, and we have it. We need data centers. Canada can lead in AI. We need to get rid of Trudeau. I thank him for his service, and it's time to move on. I mean, they're going to get the mouse. I don't care if they put a goat in running Canada. It's better than what we got right now. I'm happy to put a goat in Parliament, and we just listen to that goat nay, yes or no. It's better than what we have right now. Trudeau has killed Canada. The amount of capital that has left Canada in the last 8.5 years, the GDP per capita, the collapse of investment in Canada, it's all on him. He owns it. That guy has damaged our country in such a brutal fashion, it's going to take decades to fix it. It's so important that he get out of there. Please leave us alone. Please leave. Please. His own party is on their knees begging him to leave. He's got to go. We have to fix the country. Please, enough. Please, enough. You can do something else. He's still got his passport. He can stay in Canada if he wants. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't care. He's just got to step aside. The damage, the abuse, the mismanagement, the incompetency. I'm so ashamed of what he's done to us. I went with my wife to a wedding in Cairo just months ago. They wouldn't let us in with our Canadian passports.
Wow, that's
I mean, Trudeau, what did you do to us? What did you do to us?
That's incredible. Kevin O'Leary, of course, star of Shark Tank. When he was running for the leadership of the Conservative Party, I really thought he was he was going to win, and I was there at his opening announcement. I did a number of interviews with him for the Daily Caller, where I was working at the time. And of course, he pulled the plug in the middle of the campaign. Could never really understand what's going on with Kevin O'Leary, but he's very astute when it comes to economics and fiscal policy. He's an entrepreneur in addition to being an actor and sometimes politician. So, but his assessment of Justin Trudeau is dead on. And every time you hear Trudeau stand up in the House of Commons or Chrystia Freeland stand up in the House of Commons and say, we're number one amongst the G7, it is just such nonsense. It is just absolute balderdash. BS. Because we're not number one amongst any groups. And our taxes are higher. As he said, the investment has collapsed. Our economy is on life support. That's the truth. And stop giving us these rosy reports of economic good news, which are all nonsense. So I like what Kevin O'Leary is saying here. And, he says something here, but leave us alone. And there's a story, and it's not apocryphal, that Louis XIV, the Sun King in France, which Justin Trudeau I think equates himself with, is because he reached out to his financial managers and to French businessmen, and he said, "What can the state do to help you produce, to help you be profitable? What can the state do to assist you?" And the answer from the spokesman was, "Laissez-nous faire. Leave us alone." And that's where laissez-faire came from when we talk about laissez-faire capitalism. It came from that confrontation. And that's what we say to Justin Trudeau today. Just leave us alone. Get out of the way. Let Canadians have their freedom back. And that's what I love to hear from the Conservative Party. It's let them be the mind your own business party. That's what we need to hear. All right, back to the food professor here, which is incredible stuff here. I need the assistance of my glasses to read this here. All right. Breaking. Latest study reveals the Trudeau government deployed an aggressive carbon tax policy aimed at reducing emissions without a clear understanding of its impact on food affordability in Canada. Stay tuned for our second study coming soon for further insights. Excited to share our latest peer-reviewed implications of carbon pricing on food affordability in the agri-food sector in Canada, a scoping review. Co-authored by 11 scholars, this study dives into the complex relationship between carbon taxes and food affordability, especially in Canada and the Western economy. And this is absolutely incredible. Notice how the financial curve here continues to go up. The inflation goes up because of government spending and because the carbon tax was found to be inflationary by itself. This is proof positive. And this is exactly where Trudeau has taken our country. We could return to that other slide here. And I encourage you to read this report because this is This report, and I've got it right here. Let me find it for you. This is mandatory reading. If you want to discover what's happened to Canada, what has happened to our inflation, why this has become a hungry nation. Hunger Count 2024, Food Banks Canada. In March 2024, there were 2 million visits to food banks in Canada, the highest number in history. People can't afford to eat because the carbon tax and other inflationary measures have made food too expensive. That is the tragedy we live in. This year's food bank usage represents a 90% increase compared to March 2019. And there are signs that the food banking system is reaching its absolute limit. 1/3 of food bank clients are children. 32% of food bank clients are newcomers to Canada who have been in the country for 10 years or less. So what does that tell you right there? We have mass immigration in Canada and we can't feed the people who are coming here. We can't put them in homes and we haven't got jobs for them. That is a recipe for absolute chaos and revolution, actually. No, I want to get to the comments from yesterday because I don't want to run on too long today. Couple of things to say. I know a lot of folks are, and I don't think it was so much the live audience as people came on later to talk about that they didn't like any criticism from my guest, Viva Fry, about Pierre Poilievre of the Conservative Party. I'm sorry, we have to criticize anybody who's on the political horizon if they're not doing things. And to support this misinformation, disinformation campaign, to haul journalists in front of committees, to intimidate them and badger them. That's not what free speech is about. That's not what this country is about. And that's not what the Conservative Party of Canada should be about. And it's that simple. And I will call them out anytime they do that. I used to work for Conservative members of Parliament. I had to say what they told me to say. I don't have to do that anymore. That's why I'm an independent journalist. And I'll say great things about Pierre Poilievre. I've known him for over 20 years when he does great things, and he's done a lot of great things. But if I disagree with what he's doing, I'll say that. That's what the station is all about. It's about free speech. So I appreciated your comments yesterday. I don't appreciate comments that are racist or anti-Semitic, that are aimed against my guests, because I've spent a career as a conservative commentator or as somebody in the military who never had to worry about being called a racist because it was the farthest thing from my mind. I've always treated everybody, regardless of the color of their skin, as equal. I've always adhered to the Martin Luther King verdict, encouragement, that I judge people on the content of their character, not on the color of their skin. I always have. And nobody has ever accused me of doing otherwise because I never have. I grew up on Vancouver Island, and my friends were people of all different kinds of faiths, color, ethnic origin. One of my best friends was Japanese Canadian. I had another good friend who lived on the local native reserve. We had one of my other great friends' father owned a fishing company and a seafood store called Portuguese Joe's. He was an immigrant from Portugal. I had so many friends. I never even thought about their ethnicity or anything else. They were just Canadians to me. They were just people I knew at school because I was colorblind. That's the way I was raised, and I always will be that way. And so if people in the future, and I thought I believe these were bots. I believe these were people trying to sabotage my station. People put racist comments on this program, they will be removed immediately before YouTube can do it because YouTube will crucify me for that sort of thing because they want to get conservative stations for saying stupid things. So I will take them down. And the people who do them will be taken down because I have no time for that. We're fighting for free speech and freedom here for everybody, regardless of where they came from or where their parents came from or what their religion is. or what the color of their skin is, or what their ethnicity is. We're fighting for freedom for all Canadians, all legal Canadians who are here illegally. We're fighting for everybody who believes in freedom and freedom of speech. That's who I'm fighting for, everybody. So I welcome your comments, but I say I will continue to criticize anybody who I think is standing against the ideals of freedom at any time, because I'm in nobody's pocket politically. I never will be. But so that's all I want to say about the racism thing, because I have no time for that. The station has no time for that. And we don't insult people that way. If you want to disagree with somebody, don't get personal. Don't get mean. And certainly don't ever get racist. Not with me as the host of the station. Because I stand for something that I really believe in. That's called real equality. Not equity, equality. That we're all together in this journey. And we have to support each other. And we can disagree at times. That's what Canada is all about. It's being the freedom to disagree. I am a free Canadian. A Canadian who has the right to speak my mind. And that's what we're about here. So I just want to show some of our comments here. It is by the goodness of God that our country, we have those three unspeakably precious things: freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, and the prudence never to practice either. Mark Twain. Yeah. What do you call a Canadian rhino? Ah, rhino. Yeah. And I talked quite extensively about Manitoba Conservative MP Raquel Danko yesterday. And this viewer writes, I actually sent Raquel a nasty email regarding the way Lauren Chin was treated. I gave her a little truth about Ukraine, including the genocide of 12,000 Russian people in the Donbass since 2014. Good, you took time for email, but recommend not nasty. Do contact your MPs and CPC candidates. Tell them what your priorities are. Do you want the CPC to focus on Russian disinformation or on the migrant wave coming to Canada and the food insecurity? Why are they talking about Russian disinformation when we have so many real issues to talk about? Why are they hauling journalists in front of committees and badgering them? Especially when these journalists are being, their issues are south of the border. Or should CPC policy reassess peace that is coming in Ukraine? I want to read a few of these. Good and bad, because I didn't have time to put everything up here. But propaganda, optics, distractions from Brenda Raven. Propaganda, optics, distraction, persecution, fear-mongering, McCarthyism. And as my husband stated, it's like the witch trials. What year are we living in? How have we progressed? All parties, including the one I voted for, are guilty of these bizarre mind games. Yeah. I was so proud to have Viva Fry on the show. He's not like my best friend, but he's been there in the past when I wanted him on the show. I love the work he does. I don't think I've always agreed with 100% of the things he says, but who cares? He's working for freedom. He's fighting for freedom. And don't say things about where he comes from. I'm voting for a political party that will return plastic bags and plastic straws. And this is from Rumble, by the way. We are in Rumble. You never know when we're going to have to be on Rumble only because things happen. This is from Marilyn Haley. Liberals trying to do a gotcha to the conservatives. So that was the comment. And a lot of people were really angry yesterday about the broadcast with Viva Fry because I think I said a few things negative about Polyev and the conservatives. David said a few more things than I did that were negative, and that really got people angry. Well, sorry. You have a right to free speech in this country, and we don't always have to say everything that the conservatives or Polyev does is 100% correct, because it's not. Canadian politicians are the ones to give Canadians disinformation and misinformation. This is the most corrupted government in the whole world. I don't believe anything that this corrupted government is saying. They're all the same. This is from at Danuta. And this is from Dave Boliziuk. Boliziuk, yes. Stay on track, you two, or get lost. You've just managed to piss off conservative Canadians. Big mistake. This is your worst broadcast. That was probably the worst. Well, that was the worst one we kept up. There were some really horrible remarks made about Jews and other things, which I will not repeat, which I was just disgusted to see on my program. But that, fine. You think it's the worst broadcast? Dave, that's your opinion. That is your opinion, and I respect your opinion. I don't agree with you, but I'm not here to be an apologist for everything the Conservative Party of Canada does. If I was, they should probably be paying me $100,000 a year or more. But I used to work for Conservatives. I don't anymore. And I have a right to say that you're wrong about this, boys and girls. I don't agree with you. And don't become like the Liberals just before the election, like you often do. Don't start jettisoning. Don't start to jettison your conservative principles just before the election because you think that's going to make you more appealing to voters. You're 20 points ahead right now because you've been solid on conservative values. Now you're wavering. Now you're getting in the bed with the Liberals on disinformation and misinformation. Now you're talking about having your own Bill C-63 because it's not a bad bill. It just goes too far. No, stay with your conservative principles and everybody will support you who's conservative minded. Piss them off by telling the truth. Can't handle it, eh? I just voted conservative provincially, but I'm not so blind to see there are others. There may be other problems there too. This is from Sandy Klein. Some of these in Wes Wochison. Trudeau loves smoke and mirrors to distract from the real issues. You bet he does. And this is from Rick Carroll. Exactly. Most people are missing this. Funny how no one is talking about the documents he refuses to supply about the $300 million allotted to friends within the government. There's another negative from Donna Pike. And it's fine. I'm not afraid to read the negative. I was an entertainer for years in my part-time life. And I don't think I got too many negative reviews, but no, I didn't like to read them, but I needed to read them because you can't be delusional. You can't delude yourself. You have to read the good with the bad. And that's what I always did. And I'll read the good with the bad. Not impressed at all with the tone of this interview. Pierre is fighting for the freedom of all Canadians. Well, I hope he is. So is Raquel. No, she's not fighting for the freedom of all Canadians. I respect her greatly. Well, that's your right. They are fighting hard against this woke, insane government, and this conversation does not help. Why? This woke, insane government wants to shut down debate. This woke, insane government wants to shut down freedom of speech. Viva is extremely wrong about the Conservative Party, period. I am very surprised by his attack on Pierre and very disappointed in the show today and the very strong words and tone used against the Conservative Party candidate. Well, Midnight Ambler. The Conservatives better get their house in order or they will lose a lot of votes. No more support for the corrupt Ukraine. Spend our tax dollars here. Make Canada great again. Yeah. Someone tell Danko and her Ukrainian voter base that the Soviet Union died long ago, after crushing the Nazis and their allies. That's true. And when Trudeau invited a former member of the Waffen SS, the Nazi paramilitary unit, to Parliament to sit in the visitor gallery to listen to a speech by Ukrainian President Zelensky, everybody there forgot we were not fighting the Russians during the Second World War. We and the Russians were fighting the Germans. And the idiots who invited this guy, Yaroslav Hunka, whose unit was involved in several very horrible events, which I won't get into right now, those people seem to have forgotten or never knew who we were fighting with and against in the Second World War. Now, here's some negative. This will make all of you who are still mad at me. Viva should, this is from Kim Allen, 4071. Viva should just zip it. He's getting under my skin. Mouthpiece went to Florida with his buddy Max. That drives me. I don't know if how friendly he is with Maxime Bernier. Maxime Bernier is a friend of mine. He's always welcome on this show. I wish him well because I think he keeps the Conservatives honest. I know he's not. I don't think he's going to form the next government. He said that on the show the last time he was here. He said, I know I'm not going to form the next government. I know Pierre Poilievre is going to form a majority government. And he said, and that's going to be a lot better than Justin Trudeau, obviously. But I admire his intellect. He's been a reader and a follower of Ayn Rand most of his adult life. Nobody quotes Atlas Shrugged better than Maxime Bernier, and I love him for that reason. He really understands the free economy. He understands free speech. He understands that being Canadian is about the right to free speech. And we want less government, not more. And I don't care what party wants to push government on us, it's a bad idea. I will comment now on your guest. Now. This is again from the same people. Why do people stand on the outside of the tent and piss in? Why do people move to Florida like Viva and Max, who thinks he can campaign from Florida? Anyway, that's freedom of speech, folks, when I read your comments, even the ones I disagree with. But like I say, keep disagreeing if you want to. Just keep watching. And please do not use language that is obscene or racist when you're criticizing people you disagree with. It's not just bad taste. It's really disgusting. It's not what I'm all about. Never have been. Like I say, I'm about freedom. And that's what this show is all about. So I thank you for watching, and please share this broadcast with your friends and family. We're getting absolutely destroyed by YouTube this week in terms of the subscribers. We're losing subscribers some days. Please subscribe, resubscribe if you have to. I'm getting demonetized at the time. I'm getting struck down. I'm getting shadow banned. I'm getting everything. Why? Because I don't come on here and just show you clips of Justin Trudeau being booed. YouTube loves that. But if we talk about policy matters, YouTube hates that sometimes. And I tell you, I have to be so careful about words that I use in the description, in the title, in the thumbnail, because I can get demonetized or I can get shadow banned for virtually anything we say right now. It's a very difficult time. I hope things get better because Elon Musk just got an appointment from Donald Trump. Maybe that's going to make a difference. I sure as hell hope it does, because I'm tired of fighting censorship on two fronts, and that's what we do here. And there's certain words we can't even say on the air. And what has happened here? Anyway, I've gone way over time today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a supporter. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being a member of this family. And I'm going to keep on putting people on this show who I might not always agree with, and you might not always agree with. But the point is, we need to have opinions aired. We need to discuss issues. We need to have dissenting voices. We didn't have dissenting voices. Justin Trudeau wins, because he doesn't want dissenting voices. He wants one voice, namely his own. And that to me is unacceptable. And I know all of you listening, regardless of how you felt about my interview yesterday with my friend Viva Fry, you believe that too. We need more than one voice. We need dissent. That's what democracy is all about. And that's what Canada used to be all about. Thanks for watching today. God bless you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. We appreciate you. And I hope you appreciate this program. Thank you so much for watching.